Welcome to the Lantern Light Podcast. Lantern Light is an artist collective, publication, and promotional platform focused on shedding light on the talented artists of our hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana, and beyond. Follow us at lanternlightinc.com for updates on future podcasts, live recording sessions, and more. I'm your host, Kyle Erosh, and today's guests are Nathan and Michael from Real Rock Club, a booking agency in New Orleans that has been doing great things for the city and bringing a lot of awesome bands that I love here for all of us. So I hope you guys enjoy. All right, what's up, guys? Thanks for coming into the studio today. I have Nathan and Michael from Real Rock Club. What's up?
What's up?
What's up, man?
So I guess explain, what is Real Rock Club? I mean, you guys do promotion and bookings, but you guys been around for a long time. So I guess how long have you guys been doing this, and what was the impetus to start doing this in the first place?
Coming up on 5 years doing this?
Yeah, I think so. I think 2014 was our first show.
Yeah. August 2014, we did In Our Own Words at Spanish Moon.
Oh, yeah, that was our first show. Yeah.
Which is cool because we didn't lose any money on our first show. We got super naive.
Yep. And then it was all downhill.
It was all downhill from there.
No, just not really. Some downhill, but a lot of uphill as well.
Yeah, Mike and I played music together for years prior to booking shows. And, we were high ground Cypress kids. And when the venue got plowed to the ground to build a new police station.
This is a venue in Metairie for anybody. Metairie, Louisiana, which is a suburb of New Orleans for anybody that is listening and doesn't know where that is or was.
Rummel kids.
Very influential venue, the only all-age venue for us kids at that time.
Yeah. So we were blessed enough to be able to play the last show, and we kind of realized that once it went away, there was really no place for that scene to go. I mean, there was, but we just didn't really know about it because none of that scene went to the city at the time.
Wow, I didn't know that was the jump off the point to where it would make sense to do this.
Yeah,
that's brilliant, honestly.
We kind of just felt like, the band that we were in, Variants at the time, was starting to pick up a little bit of steam and had a little bit of notoriety from around the area. And we kind of felt the pressure from the scene and the band at the time to be able to keep music going in general. So, especially for the scene of music that we played.
Yeah, also it's kind of like, if no one's going to book our band unless we do it. So
yeah, good point.
So we're like, well, we want to play shows, so I guess we'll just book them ourselves.
Right. How long did you guys do it before you, branded it into a business unit?
It was actually pretty quick that we had branded into a business.
It wasn't always what it is now, though.
Yeah, we had originally formed it as Pavilion Entertainment, which we started doing a lot of our shows under to begin with. And the goal of that was actually really interesting, was to not only book and promote shows under that name, but it was also going to be the parent company that housed all the information and copyrights for Variants and possibly spin into like a label or something later on down the line. But we were super young at the time. It was 5 years ago, and we had no idea how to run a business. So we booked under the name for a little while, and things kind of dissipated after a couple of years. I changed jobs, Mike changed bands, and then kind of brought everything back together under the name Real Rock Club that Mike had started using as branding for Variants towards the end of that band, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, basically, Nathan kind of took a step back for a while just because he was in college, and transferring jobs and stuff like that. He just had different priorities come up, and
I just
Kyle just spilled beer all over himself. It's fine.
Oops.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, I was in college at some point. I dropped out at some point. I don't know when it was, but whatever the case, I was still playing in bands and more, focused on music, where Nathan wasn't at the time. So I just kind of kept booking under Pavilion for a while, just kind of by myself. And eventually I just kind of made my own new thing. And then I guess Nathan just missed it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I missed losing money. Just kidding.
We don't always lose money.
Just kidding.
Not as much anymore.
Yeah, music was always something that's been embedded in me
But
even from like
anyway,
a young age. So I mean, it's not something that you can just kind of step away from. Be like, I'm done with this.
yeah. Well, some
What's the
people
next
do,
thing?
but that's another story. Anyway,
Fake rockers.
so
Band guys. Let's talk about this real quick. Band guys. You guys know about band guys? The
Enlighten me.
definition of a band guy would be someone who is into music, obviously is in a band. You know, let's say they play an instrument. Okay? But when that band ends, all of a sudden they sell all their shit and they don't play music anymore and they don't care about music anymore and all that stuff. So that's band guys. That's not musicians or people who are actually passionate about music. So I would just like to enlighten everybody on that definition. Anyway, so that's really cool. I didn't so there was no lull of nothing going on. Like Michael, you kind of pushed this shit for a while by yourself.
I mean, there was not as like much like as it is now. I mean, it was just kind of like pretty much like whenever, because I've been in bands touring DIY for pretty much ever since I started playing in bands, and haven't really stopped. And basically, I just kept doing it because, you know, if I'm trying to go on tour, you know, the whole DIY process is you book me in this city, I book you in New Orleans. It's kind of how it works. So in order to be able to book my bands, I had to be able to return favors. So
Right. So even before Pavilion or Real Rock Club was started, I mean, you had experience booking shows just due to needing to do it for your own self, or
kind of. It sounds kind of selfish when you say it like
no?
that.
I mean, you know, I mean, I have some experience with it, but that's just due to playing music.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have experience with booking a show that we weren't playing, but we just kind of took the same principles of being in a band, whether you playing a show at home or on the road. You kind of know what the ins and outs of doing that is. So being able to just do that but not play the show, we kind of applied the same principles.
Cool. Yeah. And I mean, for everyone, I know Nate and Michael, I've known them for about 10 years, and it's just from playing shows at the Cypress, the venue that we had mentioned. So it's cool to see how far you guys have come and how legit the unit really is and everything you guys are doing for New Orleans and the music scene here and for all the touring bands that come here. I mean, you guys book a huge majority of the shows that I want to be at. And that's really cool. So I commend you for that. So, you know, obviously you guys were young when you started this. I guess it was trial by fire with learning how to deal with the business aspect of these things and to have this be at all sustainable to continue to be doing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're 15, 16 years old playing shows at an all ages venue that's DIY, the last thing you think about is how are you going to make enough money to pay the bands and then the overhead that goes into putting on a show, especially in an all ages place. I mean, your only revenue is ticket sales. It's not like you go to a bar and they have bar revenue or food or something to supplement all that. And we definitely didn't think about that. So when we started booking shows, it was really easy for us to book bands that, I mean, first of all, we love to book bands that we listen to. That's always like our biggest thing. We want to bring our favorite artists to the city. But if we get when we first started, we got packages that were just crazy high priced, and naive us were like, oh yeah, we'll do it. People will roll up because we love the band. But maybe
and
not
nobody
everybody
shows up and you lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely trial by fire, and very very quickly you have to realize there is a business aspect to this, plus the passion aspect.
Right, and I think we can all agree the music industry is can be a very fickle place, and can be very I guess interesting to traverse and learn how to traverse.
Yeah, I mean you have to be able to convince people to come to the shows, which is, I mean, part of building the brand and partly the artists you book. But I mean, it's like what Mike had mentioned before. It's just building the relationships. It's not only the bands that you want to bring into the city. You have to build the relationships, but you have to build it with the community here too, and provide some type of value to the people. Yeah,
absolutely. And for everyone listening, I mean, most of our audience, especially in the beginning of this podcast, is going to be from New Orleans and surrounding areas. But like you said, when the Cypress closed down all those years ago, I mean, you guys naturally realized that there would be a gap in the market for anybody trying to book these shows. But it's very true. I mean, New Orleans is such a a big hub for music, quote unquote, you know, but as far as indie musicians or, you know, anyone in the underground scene, there's not always that much stuff going on. I mean, you guys know more than anybody how many tours packages just skip this whole place. So, you know, without you guys, I mean, there's obviously other people in the city, but, you know, you guys are largely doing God's work, you know, bringing this type of music to the city.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys. Cool. So after all this time, what are some landmark moments and shows that you guys have booked that are, I guess, special to you guys? And, you know, what sticks out in your mind so far, like big wins that, you know, what's the reason why you keep doing this at this point? Because it's like, you know, obviously if it's not money, you know, because if we could all focus on things that bring us more money than doing anything with music, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we keep making jokes about losing money, but we're not like losing money left and right. We're just kind of being cynical. But I don't know. Anytime that we get to book, you know, some of our favorite band, whether the show does well or not, it just kind of makes everything worth it. I mean, thankfully, me personally, all of my favorite bands that I have booked, well, I take it back. There was one favorite band that I booked that didn't go so well, but most of them, thankfully, went pretty well. Got to book a couple of my favorite bands at Gasa Gasa.
Shout out Gasa
yeah.
Gasa,
Shout out Gasa Gasa.
which is my favorite venue, I think.
Yeah, it's the best.
That's like our go-to venue down here.
Yeah, it's the best venue. I also work there and bartend there, so holler at your boy.
Oh, you do?
But, yeah,
Simple
How's that
plug
going?
to make tips.
Can you make some dope mixed drinks?
I'm all right.
Can you do some tricks?
Makes a fire dark and stormy.
Yeah, hit me up.
Michael.
Yeah, dude, Gasa Gasa is, everybody always talks about, like, what's the replacement venue for the High Ground or Cypress? Really, it's Gasa. 200 cap, super artsy venue. It sounds fantastic. Micah, who owns it, is super nice and accommodating. And really, our MO is putting bigger bands in rooms that they probably shouldn't be in because it's too small. So putting bands like Knocked Loose and Stick to Your Guns and Microwave, like in 200 cap rooms, it gets pretty awesome. And that's really the most memorable thing for myself. At
Yeah,
least.
and I mean, another cool thing about, you know, being a part of this niche music scene that we have down here is that, you know, when I had the opportunity to book pretty much my all-time favorite band, rest in peace, Balance and Composure, at Gasa Gasa.
Rip.
You know, like everywhere else in the country, they're playing rooms that are, you know, probably at least 3 times the size of Gasa, and they're selling it out. So for them to play a 200 cap room is just so sick. Like, I remember when they came to Gasa, they said on stage, they were like, we can't remember the last time we played in a room this small, and this is like some of the best energy we've felt in a long time.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, coming from the DIY community, we always love playing the smaller, compact, hot and sweaty house shows, right? So if you can take a band who is on the up and coming or maybe like on that next tier and you can remind them of their roots, most of the time they have a crazy time because it's bringing back great memories.
Yeah, and that kind of happens a lot for us just because, you know, New Orleans is thought of as a major city, and, you know, it is, but it's a small, big city. Like, we don't have the numbers that, you know, Houston or, you know, any of the, like Atlanta. You know, Houston and Atlanta are so much bigger than New Orleans, but we get looped in as a big city, even though we're not nearly as big as those two.
Yeah, and plus people take the off day because they just want to come to New Orleans and
Yeah,
party, right?
yeah,
You don't want to
yeah.
come to New Orleans, play a show, and then not be able to go to the city. So
Yeah,
I
but
understand that.
anytime we bring a, you know, quote unquote bigger band through that is a part of this scene that, you know, we're booking, chances are that, you know, they're gonna play in the Northeast or on the West Coast to like 1,200 people, and they'll come here and play, you know, a tiny little room, and they'll be like, wow, that was really fun. So it's always cool when they're stoked on that.
Yeah, I mean the one show that I could put my finger on that was really a big turning point. It was one of my first shows back, but it was the Title Fight house show.
Oh yeah, that
I
was
was going to
crazy.
bring that up.
Yeah,
That was-
that's kind of like what we will always be known for.
Yeah.
rightfully
Not
so.
that it's a bad thing,
Yeah,
but it's just
we
like,
kind of embraced that because
like-
it was probably and will always be the craziest show we've ever put together.
I was sitting at home in Homa or something without a ride, and I was just lamenting over not being there.
You want to hear the story of like how it happened? 'Cause
Absolutely.
it's insane.
It's pretty hilarious.
So,
Lay it on me.
all right. So Voodoo gets announced. Everybody gets hyped to just talk shit about how bad the Voodoo lineup is every year. And
It was weird the title fight was even on it
Yeah.
to begin with. but
so Title
whatever.
Fight gets announced, and everybody in our little scene is like stoked on Title Fight
Correct.
because it's like the one band from our scene that's on it this year. And Mike and I joked for months, like, man, how crazy would it be to do like an after party or something like that for Title Fight here? And
And also, we were joking about how if it gets rained out, it could maybe happen.
Yeah, 'cause
still kind of joking.
there's always
though,
that one
but-
day of Voodoo that's like it's
Yeah.
either raining or it's like a slop fest and it's
yeah,
like
just
really
like Jazz
miserable.
Fest, except
So anyway, we wake up that morning. It was a Sunday, right? I think it was a Sunday. We wake up that morning and it's like piss storm raining outside, and we get an announcement from NOLA.com at 10 o'clock in the morning that the show is canceled for the day. So I wake up and I immediately call Mike. I'm like, dude, we have to do something to be able to get Title Fight down here. And we had just recorded an EP for Variants with Jay Moss up in Boston. It's the old guitarist from Defeater. And the guy's super well connected. So I started calling everyone I know. Jay was my first call just to figure out like how the hell do I get in contact with this band, just to figure out where they are. Made a bunch of calls, sent a bunch of emails, started like this huge Twitter call to just get their information. And we finally get in touch with them. It's like noon and they're in Mobile. And I get on the phone with Ned, their bass player. And he's like, hey man, if you guys want to do a show, we're down. We just kind of need to know all the details because if we need to drive, like we need to leave now. So we let him choose, pricing, whatever. It was like a $5 house show that Dom Jones was nice enough to let us use his house
Yeah,
for.
thank you.
Shout out Dom.
Because none of this would have happened without Dom's house in Metairie.
Or Bert Lemoyne,
Yeah, or
who
Bert.
brought the PA all the way from Baton Rouge. Shout out Bert.
Yeah.
So Title Fight pulled up to this house in Metairie. We got in contact with them at noon, just to put it in perspective. They arrived in New Orleans around 5, and the show started around 7. And we put a Facebook page up, and it was up for maybe 4 hours, and we had close to 300 people at that show.
At his house.
At his house. In
His
Metairie.
house in Metairie.
Like literally the heart of Metairie.
Was he?
And-
Did he live in like an actual house? Like
it was a
Yes.
house.
It was like a mid-block house too. So there was
Okay,
like
it's-
cars everywhere. It was the craziest shit in the world, dude.
Actually, that brings us to the next point. Speaking of cars everywhere, the show actually happened for maybe 15 minutes, and then JP was like, whoop, whoop, and
No.
yeah, no more.
Yeah, it wasn't even because it was loud. It was because all the neighbors were concerned with how many people were on their street at like
Yeah.
a Sunday night at 8 p.m.
Neighborhood
But it
watch.
was wild. Like we had people drive in all the way from Pensacola and Mobile for the show that they heard about literally 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And so I was running door for it, and we got to a point to where we literally couldn't fit any more people inside of Dom's house. It was like sardine cans in there, and people were still willing to pay money to go into Dom's backyard and not even watch the band. They couldn't see him through a window, so they just listened to him.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even get to see it because I was outside accepting, what was it? Did we do $5?
$5.
Yeah, I was outside taking money, and I mean, even if I wanted to see it, you literally could not walk.
You could
in the
not get
house.
inside. It was the
So,
hottest thing in the world too. I mean, it
Yeah.
had just rained in October, and we don't. Get
Yeah,
winter
there
around
were
here,
a
so-
couple windows like leading out to the backyard, like they were facing away from the windows, but there were people like literally hanging inside of the windows trying to watch a show from the backyard.
Yeah, it was.
Like half of their bodies were inside of the house and half of them
There
were
was
outside.
with all the bands and all the people who helped put on the show. There's probably about 300 people at this dude's house in the heart of Metairie for a show that lasted 15 minutes.
Yeah. So I hope it was worth the $5, everybody.
It was extremely pivotal for us though, because it was right at the time where we were rebranding from Pavilion to Real Rock Club, and I mean, we just did it because we thought it would be cool to just say we did it, but I mean, Mike has gotten approached multiple times outside the state of
Yeah,
Louisiana.
like it happens all the time when I'm on tour and now, I'm talking to people and they're like, and we're just talking and I'm like, hey man, if you ever need a show in New Orleans, blah, 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 hit me up. And they're like, oh, did you book that Title Fight house show? I'm like, Yeah.
Wow.
4 years later.
4 years ago, and people still know us for that.
Were there any like postings about it or video or anything from it?
I mean, there's some pictures.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of
And
it.
actually, I think there is a video on YouTube. I think.
I'm sure you can find stuff
I
somewhere, but it's man, it's ironic you bring this up because tomorrow we're starting like a TBT series on our Instagram, and obviously that was going to be the number one post. Was what started all this craziness was title fight in a house in Metairie.
Absolutely. How were the band with being there for 15 minutes and then?
I will say that Title Fight is probably the most chill band that we have ever worked with.
Yeah, for sure. They pulled up in a 15-passenger van with a 6x12 trailer. Somehow managed to park that on a street in Metairie and played in a space that's probably the size of a closet, a walk-in closet. They somehow fit all their gear in there. And it was so cool. They open up all their guitars, and there's like some feedback getting ready to start up, cymbal swells, and Ned leans into the mic and goes, "Welcome to Voodoo Fest."
Oh yeah, I did hear that. I didn't see it because I was outside, but I did hear that. That was funny.
Was Hyperview out at that time?
It was.
Wasn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just came
yeah,
out.
Yeah,
came
it just
out.
came out actually.
Which, by the way, was super before its time. I feel like Title Fight would still be a band if Hyperview came out later. That's my
I think they're
opinion.
just taking a break. I don't think they're done. Also, isn't Glitterer Ned's thing?
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
just got signed.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's his new band.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. When Hyperview came out, I was kind of hating on it, but now I love it.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
love it. I mean, I don't know.
I think the crowd that they appealed to
Yeah,
just hadn't matured into that sound yet.
I agree.
it's my favorite Title Fight record.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
personally, but
I don't
now.
know. I don't know, but a lot of stuff is growing on me. Like I loved Shed immediately. Floral Green, I was like,
Floral
then I
Green
was like,
was like the
amazing.
staple that everybody. Well, I think that's where all the hardcore kids started getting into it. And then when Hyperview came out, I think people were just expecting Floral Green 2,
Yeah.
Right.
and it wasn't that. It's kind of like what Turnover did, right? When they put out Peripheral Vision, like everybody loved it. Don't
Which
get me
was
wrong.
the best move ever.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But nobody was expecting it.
Correct. Yeah. Man, just reminiscing about like being 18. I saw Title Fight and Balance when I was 18 at the warehouse in Houston.
God.
And that was when it was before Shed. But those guys are like our age, right? They're like late 20s.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say the other show that was probably a big staple for us was, and if anybody grew up in the New Orleans scene, we were talking about the suburban Metairie scene before, the Big Top, which is on Cleo Street right off St. Charles off the interstate, changed names a bunch, different ownership, and it was this place called the Beatnik for a while. We booked the Acacia Strain there on their CD release tour for Como Witch, and it had the Plot and You, and it was Kane Hill's first tour as well. And if anybody's ever been there, it's I would say it's smaller than Gossa. To be
Yeah.
honest, it's like 180 cap, and we fit like 250 people in there. It was pretty dumb.
No, he didn't.
Is the Beatnik not around anymore?
What?
Is the Beatnik not around anymore?
It's not.
No, it's not.
It is. I walked by today actually because I went to that. I always say this so bad. Mais Arepas. I'm pretty
Nathan's
sure
white, y'all.
I butchered that, but okay. So there's like this.
Just so everybody knows, Nathan Kleindorf is white.
I am super white. It's like a Mexican sandwich place on the corner, and yeah, I just walked by next door. I was like, holy crap! I've never been here since we booked shows here years ago, and it's like this urban coffee shop now that does open mic nights.
Wow.
But it was kind of surreal walking in and being like, dude, we used to book. This used to be our venue. Pretty wild.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the show where we were like, oh shit, like, is this actually like something that could, keep going and like getting bigger and like we sold out a show. Like that's
Yeah. It's pretty crazy
crazy.
to get a routing date. I mean, first off, whenever we were booking shows, we would always hit up agents or bands that had announced a tour already.
I mean,
and
it's
just had an off
sometimes
date.
a lot of times still is like that. But
Yeah.
not as much as it used to be.
So yeah, I mean that's huge. First off, getting Acacia. Yeah, I guess like what's like the strategy for getting into this? I mean, you have to obviously you navigate the industry and you create connections with these agents,
Yeah.
and then they'll hit you back up next time, whether it's the same band or a different band. And after years of experience, you develop this call book to call back on these people, and they call you back, and then it becomes a thing. But in the beginning, I mean, yeah, it's got to be a lot of digging around the internet and sending messages to people.
It's no overnight process. I'll definitely say that. I mean, I think we started at a very interesting time where there was a craving for this scene in New Orleans, just because of like the change in venues and the change in scenery to begin with. But there was also a smaller booking agency called the Action Agency, which actually the guitarist from Gideon used to run. And it was the first agency that would book these mid to lower tier metal and hardcore bands, because no bigger agent would give a band that took $100 guarantee a night the time of day, right? They weren't making a commission off of it. But Daniel was nice enough to be able to do that, and he was our first industry agent contact to be able to do that. And I mean, we were terrible at talent buying at the time. He would just throw out a number and be like, "Oh yeah, for sure, we can do that," which we couldn't do. But he was
Pro tip: you're supposed to negotiate.
Yeah, please negotiate. Get the agent to say a number first. Negotiate. He was nice enough to give us packages first off, and we started getting some actual names. We did our biggest loss at the time was a For the Fallen Dreams headliner that Oceano was doing direct support, and that was killer. Like, we love For the Fallen Dreams, we love Oceano, but For the Fallen Dreams dropped 3 days before our show. Headliner gone, and it was like hurricane weather outside that day, and we lost like $800, and it was like an ice pick to the heart when that happened. But I mean, you have to cut your teeth in smaller rooms, and I feel like it was pivotal for us to know what it's like to lose in order to appreciate what the wins are and appreciate the scene that we have. And you just have to make sure that the bands have a great time when they come.
True that. I mean, I would assume that dealing with New Orleans, that weather is always a big thing that you can't count for, but everything affects, your head count. Maybe to go back real quick and just talk about like my favorite show that you guys booked, or experience really, just from, if you guys wouldn't have booked this show, then this wouldn't have happened for me or whatever. But, so, myself and my roommate Brennan, we're in a math rock band right now, Shambles. And obviously, like, we take influence from a lot of different areas. But there was a show, this had to be like 4 years ago, and you guys had got me to come run sound. And it was
I think it was March 2016, maybe
2016. Yeah, it was one of the first shows we had done at Casa.
I remember that it was March.
Anyway. That was a great show, first off, but it was Tides of Man headlining show, which, after they released their, Dreamhouse Attilian, and he left, and, obviously that's not like the best move commercially, but they dropped that banger of an instrumental record.
Oh my God.
Ooh,
so good.
It's so good. Really Young and Courageous. Fire. New record's fire too. But
band is so good.
You guys had booked that, and a lot of us were really excited about it. And Yvette Young. I always want to say Yvette Williams. I have no idea why I want to say that. Like, she plays tennis or something.
That's the hooker you had over last night.
Hey man, hey bro. But yeah, like, her name was on the flyer, and it was like before Covet was a thing. Like,
yeah, it was interesting because when we got the offer, it was listed as Yvette Young, and then like a month later, the agent hit us back and was like, "Hey, can you edit the flyer and put in parentheses of Covet?" So I guess they were like just forming the band,
right? And she's like a savant, and has like her own piano things and acoustic records and the math rock stuff she's known for. But she was like coming on my radar, I guess, at the time. But I show up to run sound. I'm already super excited for Tides of Man, first off. And there's this female with a 7-string Strandberg headless guitar that's got all this floral painting on it. And I'm just like, okay, like, what? And then
yeah, what kind of expectations that set?
Yeah. Just gets me stoked, I guess. And then, they were super sick, and I was able to make, contact with them, and I just hung out with them and told them how much I appreciated them, and their musicianship was insane. And I was just playing some stuff over, the PA. I was playing Trioscapes, which is a band with Dan Briggs for BT Bam. It's like a side project, and it's awesome. It's instrumental, and it's just like bass and horns, and it's super cool. Well, the bass player starts talking to me. Long story short, they guest listed me on their last show with Dance Gavin Dance a month ago, and they're so huge now. I mean, Yvette's getting her own Ibanez signature guitar. The drummer Forrest is probably gonna
I would be surprised if he's like a sponsored Tama artist soon, and like that wouldn't have happened without you guys. So you guys definitely impacting me and a lot of other people around here. And like I was saying, our band Shambles, I mean, we take huge influence from Yvette and Covet in general. I think most people in the prog math rock really scene do. So that was super cool for me. I just had to say that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
that was
dude.
cool, man.
I think that's
It was a good show.
It's really encouraging to hear stories like that of people come to our shows and are stoked and count down days until the show happens, because I mean that was a show that we booked because we love the band as well. It came at an interesting time too, because there wasn't really a lot of local acts at the time, and we had 2 locals on that bill, which was great. There's a band called The Arbitrary, rest in peace, or unless you're on a hiatus. I don't know, Jerf, if you're listening to this, I love you. But that was their first show, and they played it, and it was cool because there was a lot of, we knew that there was going to be a lot of artists in the room, people who have been in bands previously in the scene, and people who were kind of in between bands, and it was one of those shows that we realized sparked the start of a lot of local bands around here too, which is super encouraging, man. I mean, it's no scene, regardless of if it's New Orleans or Atlanta or wherever, the scene wouldn't be anything unless there was local bands to continuously push it and strive to get better. So to be able to see people catch inspiration from shows that we do and then form their own bands because of it, that's one of those ancillary benefits that you can't put any value on.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you say that. I forgot that was the Arbitrary's first show, which shout out to Jeffrey, and that was just like one of the first shows he played with his new band, and I just remember him being really young and not being that great, and now he's a savage. He just grew so much. I just saw the growth happen. I mean, I've always been trash at music, but I just,
his new band Rogue, please do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rogue is awesome. Everyone go check it out. But his dad's there. It's cool to see the community be so together and tight knit, and I mean the community is it's everything. I think is a lot smaller than you think it is. The music industry in general,
definitely,
it's a little bit smaller than when you get into things than it looks like on the outside.
I feel like a lot of people have come into the scene now. We finally hit that generational milestone. I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years, right? So people have had enough time to start and finish undergrad, and usually that's when people start to find their true passions in that age, right after high school. And we're starting to see new bands come through, guys like Lip Candy, who are incredible. Kyle's recorded Lip Candy and sounds amazing.
Thank you.
The those guys, when we first started booking, they weren't a thing. I mean, they weren't even.
Oh,
in New
absolutely.
Orleans.
No, they've only been a thing for a year and a half, 2 years.
So they've started their band in New Orleans, and these guys aren't from New Orleans, and they're taking off. They play shows out of state, and they go to California and play shows out there. It's insane, but we've started to hit a point now to where the people who were foundational and getting us started and keeping us motivated, they're still there. Don't get me wrong, but we have this new wave of people who are coming underneath, and that's crazy to see.
It's a really good point. Yeah,
it also reminds me that we're getting old.
Yeah, absolutely. Time moves on. Yeah. So with that being said, you guys have a couple other promotional things going on. First thing that comes to mind is, Emo Night, which congrats on the success of that.
Thanks, dude.
At the Republic. Obviously, that is an interesting thing because Emo Night, it harps back to Taking Back Sunday and all these things from the 2000s, which are really our stuff from people our age, late 20s being mid to late 20s being the oldest people who were really into that music at the time. But, I mean, it does draw a younger crowd, right?
It draws a crazily diverse crowd, I would say. It's another cool story, the way Emo Night started down here. It was October 2017. Warped Tour started this branded cruise that was actually porting out of New Orleans. And the day before, we got an offer to host Emo Night Brooklyn, which is, I mean, if you're familiar with the Emo Night brands, there's really 2 big ones. There's Emo Night LA and then Emo Night Brooklyn. And both of these started relatively around the same time, but they have been picked up by agents and actually tour around the U.S. under their branded name, respectively. And we got the opportunity to host Emo Night Brooklyn here at Republic, and we had a DJ set provided by the guys of Mayday Parade. So it was super cool. It was the first time something like that had happened down here, and we had a decent turnout, 250-ish for a Thursday night. But we, our team and the Republic team had an eye-opening moment. We were like, man, we could do this ourselves and make it way better. And that sounds kind of narcissistic to say that, but we, to be able to take that throwbacky feel, which is, I mean, you would think it's niche, but everyone loves nostalgia. I mean, if you're on Facebook and you're scrolling past, there's a sponsored ad for Chubbies, and it's got that like old 90s cup, foam cup print on there, like the teal or whatever. You're going to click on it.
Oh, absolutely. Nostalgia is one of the most, I guess, grabbing feelings that you can have. So people use that in marketing all the time.
Yeah, I think the emotional tie to it, which again is ironic with it being branded Emo Night, has a crazy allure to it. And at first it was pulling an older crowd who is familiar with the time frame of which we kind of focus on, that like MySpace early 2000s to mid 2000s frame. And over time, it's just caught on because we do it monthly now, and people realize that it's just a crazy cool time. And it's different from going to a club night to where it's just, that EDM scene, which New Orleans loves and embraces so much. It's kind of got that same physical feel, but the vibe is different, and people who go to like full band shows embrace that as well. So the community builds and has been building for going on almost 2 years now, and we've seen exponential growth with it.
Yeah, we always have a local band open up with, primarily a cover set, but we tell them that they can throw an original tune if they want to. But yeah, so that kind of helps it feel a little bit different from some of the other ones.
Yeah, there's, some of the branded emo nights, and each major city around the U.S. is starting to catch on that this is like a thing that they can start up. Some of them will bring in national acts, older acts. I mean, you're talking like Hawthorne Heights or I don't know, any MySpace band you can think of, right? They'll bring them in, and that's cool and everything, but we love to put a big focus on our scene, which we know isn't the biggest thing in the world. So as often as we can put a magnifying glass on it, we want to do that. So putting local bands on there, I mean, Mike's band Handout has played it a couple times. Hey Thanks plays it a couple times. Lip Candy's played it before. I think it's not only something fun to do, but it also gives them a platform to reach an audience that they wouldn't have reached before.
Absolutely. Was there a live band, the first one that you guys did, or was it just a DJ set?
Well, that one had the guy from Mayday Parade,
right,
as the DJ, so that was kind of, I guess, the main focus for that one. And that was the only time that we'd had an emo night with like a celebrity, if you will.
So, but after that, you guys had got the idea that it would be smart to put on a band and then follow it with a DJ set, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
because if you're, I don't know, if it's just a DJ, it's just, for me personally, it's not as, I don't know.
For us, yeah.
Yeah, now it's just a club night.
For our music heads, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, smart's a cool adjective to throw on it. We just thought it would be different. And no one else was doing that. Plus, it gives people the opportunity to go and do something fun. Like, man, if I was still in a band playing original music and traveling around, and I got the offer to play a 45-minute set of covers of songs that got me into that style of music, I'd be so excited for it.
Yeah, it was fun playing. I played it once. We covered Metro Station.
I think there's a video of that, right?
Shake It, man.
There's a video of that, which is so funny.
Is there a video?
I know you did it, and I wasn't there.
I don't know. Ed does this like crazy solo over the bridge.
There's a video of Ed doing the solo.
So good.
And it was tight.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
And it was tight. And which is, for everyone who hasn't listened to Handout, go listen to Handout.
Please listen to Handout.
They're so sick. But it was interesting to see that you guys did that.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. Also, just hearing Matt sing those words.
I'm surprised Matt
amazing.
was about it.
No, they're about it. It's just like, it's got to be the cringiest song lyrics of all time.
Yeah.
Like, the verse, just listen to the verses. They're really bad. It's bad. It's super it's fun, but it's cringy.
So with this success of Emo Night and all these things going on with the scene right now, would you guys agree that it does seem like there's some sort of movement in general here in broader, I guess, and the larger view of the music scene, that it seems like there's a general resurgence that's harping back to maybe the early 2000s, big boom of music. I think we had a big lull in the scene in the end of the 2000s, maybe 11 on till 17. It's kind of dead. There's not many people innovating. It seemed like music was kind of, after dubstep was like huge, like what was really going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think what really happens is, you have people that come and they break the mold and they push art forward, and, they have something to lose. So they're pushing hard. And then, people ride that wave for a while. And then once that dissipates, the next wave of people come in that are hungry, that are, wanting to push art forward and all these things. And I think we're in like a mode of that. And on top of that, in general, in the last maybe 2 years, New Orleans has just become such a big global destination for, tourism in general. It's a huge boon to be here right now, I think. A lot of people love New Orleans in general. A lot of people like the idea of New Orleans and coming here, like you said, to party for a weekend. Yep. But do you, would you say with this emo night thing and all these other things that we're seeing, maybe better head counts or more people come to these things than you guys did, 5 years ago when you started? Maybe that's due to you guys being smarter and knowing, what to do a little bit more than you did back then.
I think it's with emo night particularly, it's a lot of trial and error, but I think a lot of it comes down to the theme that we do. It's kind of a big staple for us, and I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to the Republic team. I mean, we wouldn't be able to be doing emo night if it wasn't for them. So shout out Nick and Chris for keeping this thing going with us. The themes are really cool, and I think the guerrilla marketing strategy that we have behind this, of it just like, it's a lot of word of mouth of people just talking about what it is and how cool it is, and people coming for the first time. And really, every time we do an emo night, we get the artist to ask whose first time is it at emo night, and the roars are crazy loud. And it's very encouraging to see people getting exposed to that for the first time, and then we see familiar faces from here on out. But I would say, I mean, with the music in general, we're starting to see a lot of people, I wouldn't say reinventing the wheel, but they're bringing back some styles of music that were maybe underappreciated a couple years ago. I can point to metalcore as a big one right now. Pure Noise has picked up a couple of metalcore bands like Sanction, or some other ones like Wrist Meet Razor is another one. Some of these like sporadic, See You Space Cowboy, sporadic metalcore bands.
Yeah, definitely.
And
that show's gonna be sick, by the way.
You guys book See You Space Cowboy?
Yeah,
They're on the Knock Loose show.
We have Knocked Loose CD release tour coming in October.
I think I saw you guys announce
October
that.
20th, Southport Hall. Knocked Loose, Rotting Out's first tour back. See You Space Cowboy. I'm forgetting one.
I saw that today, actually.
Oh, it's Candy.
And Candy, yeah. Candy.
Cool.
So, and there's also
Candy's
a band that we
awesome.
can't talk about just yet that's going to be on that tour as well. So, keep your ears out for that. But anyway, I mean, some of those bands that are starting to get picked up and starting to get popular, like you can point to direct influences like See You Next Tuesday. If you're, like, people who are familiar from that band, like Beneath the Massacre, like super sporadic metal. And I just feel like that was kind of underappreciated in a time where bands like Job for a Cowboy and the Acacia Strain were starting to blow up, and it had this kind of gimmick influence to it at first.
Talking about like heavy, low.
Yeah.
And I saw you made a post, but it's funny you made a post because I had recently saw the number 12 like 6 months ago in Austin, Texas with Arsonist Get All the Girls.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. Like, so weird. I showed up at the end of the show just to see number 12.
Yeah, we had number 12 here at Gasa, that Sam Ard book. Shout out, Sam. Keep doing you. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't able to go to that. That was since like they reformed or got back
that show
together.
did really well.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think the resurgence of underappreciated genres is really cool. And ironically, we had Ghostmain here this past Saturday, and like that is a very interesting genre. I mean,
We didn't book it.
we didn't
but
book
it was
Ghostmain.
here.
I would love to book Ghostmain, but like that sound cloudy rap that's starting to pick up steam. is crazy because the Ghostmain show, they play with this band called Horror as well.
Was that like a hardcore band?
I would call it a hardcore band at this point. So
I
it's,
think I
so it's
saw
rap, but they play with a full band
Oh,
as
that's
well.
cool. Was
And
it
they-
like
dude, it was
chuggy?
It was the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it was chuggy. They had like breakdowns and they had like crazy double time circle pit beats and
what?
Yeah.
crowd surfing and people were like
think I
climbing on rafters and jumping off. It was the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life with super dedicated fans. But I bring that up because I actually had someone ask. They're like, okay, is this type of music sustainable? That like SoundCloudy rap with hardcore influence, and I don't know if it is. I mean, it's very niche, but it's very, very popular.
Yeah, I would
But-
say Ghostmain and
Like think Suicide Boys, right? So like Suicide Boys is going on tour with Turnstile and Trash Talk. So
Right.
there's obvious hardcore.
but
and-
those are all hardcore kids. Like Ghostman used to be in
Yeah.
like a hardcore band.
yeah, I mean
before he did his
Ruby
rap
from
thing.
Suicide Boys used to play drums in a punk band down here.
Right.
So
They're from the North Shore, right?
yeah, they
from
rep
here. They're from this
7th Ward.
area.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They're spread out,
So
I
I got
think.
asked. I was like, all right, is this music sustainable long term? I don't know. But if it's not, which way will the crowd gravitate towards? Will they gravitate towards rap or will they gravitate towards the full band side of things? Because for a lot of people who are into this style of music, they're like EDM kids, right?
Yeah.
Growing up in that style. And this is their first introduction to live shows that also include instrumentation.
Wow, it's true.
And I mean, I remember for me when I was 14, 15 years old going to my first shows that were similar to that, that's what changed my life in music. The first show I ever went to was the Devil Wears Prada upstairs at the High Ground, which is like a
Upstairs.
160 cap. And
OG shit.
it was
OG shit.
Dance Gavin Dance was on that show. And it was so packed that the Devil Wears Prada had to stand on top of their amps because people were piling onto the stage. And I could draw parallels to that style that or that vibe that show gave off to how Ghostmain was on Saturday. And if people grab onto that community aspect of it, I think that would be a new resurgence of what we saw at Hardcore Metal.
Very well said. Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, all that stuff's been interesting with Suicide and Ghostmain and seeing, you know, all the hardcore influence with the rap stuff.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting. It's funny because, like, I don't know. It would be awesome if any of those people who were so hype on the Ghostman show went to, like, one small hardcore show. I feel like they would just be like,
Yeah, like we have Stick to Your
What
Guns
is-
and
what
Counterparts
is
in
this?
Terror.
What's the date?
August 14th,
Okay.
which is 2 days before my birthday. So if
Let's
you
go.
if you love me, you'll come to that show. But that's in the same exact room that Ghostmain happened in. And
Where's it? Where was the show at?
it's at Republic.
Oh, so Ghostman played Republic. Okay.
Yeah.
And just like Mike said, I mean, there are going to be a majority of the people who are at that Ghostmain show that enjoyed the vibe
Absolutely.
that will not go to the Stick to Your Guns and Terror show, even though it's the same exact vibe.
You said Stick to Your Guns, Terra and Counterparts?
Counterparts.
I will be there.
August 14th.
Counterparts. Let's get it.
That's going to be cool. But in a perfect world, the people that were at the Ghostman show and the people that go to emo nights would, in theory, have a good time at all of our shows, including the smaller ones.
Yeah, well,
So it would be awesome if you guys could check out some baby bands because you'd probably like them if you're listening to this.
So is the Republic booking more? Like, what's their thing? I mean, obviously they're more of a club.
They're
like,
trying to get more into live music.
Yeah. So Republic has this, I guess, this stigma of being like a club, like an EDM based club.
I'm part of the stigma.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, they still do EDM shows. It's very EDM based.
Yeah, I mean, we're not knocking that. That's
No.
just what their reputation is.
but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are definitely making a full fledged effort to turn it into a concert venue. And
Okay.
Just broad.
we've had conversations about putting
Makes sense.
more of our shows there and getting more like rock and even metal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
inside
great
that room.
venue.
It's amazing. The staff there is fantastic. The ownership team is fantastic. The sound has come leaps and bounds, and it's an amazing venue in an area of the city that the artists even love too. You park and you walk 3 blocks and you're in the heart of downtown. But yeah, I mean, it's an uphill battle to change that vision. And I think it's partially because we grew up ourselves
Right.
looking at Republic as that. But some of these kids who are now at Loyola and Tulane, they don't necessarily see it as
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we can all harp back to the times just to hit on what you just said.
to being at the high ground, and these bigger bands would roll up, and we're in Metairie. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's like, hey,
we thought it was fine because we live down the street,
Yeah.
but they want to go to New Orleans. They don't want to go to Metairie.
right. Okay, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you the origins of Real Rock.
It was
Come on,
actually
Michael. Get it.
it was kind of just like a joke that like the members of Variants had amongst ourselves, just about basically, I don't know, like touring, like DIY touring, at least in my opinion, is the most valuable thing that you can do if you are in a band and you are trying to, if you're trying, like if you just want to be a local band and you want to play shows with your friends and you just want to hang out and do whatever, that's fine. I'm not knocking that, but there's a lot of people that, say that, oh, I'm in a band and I'm going to take it seriously and this is going to be my life, but they don't play shows anywhere except for their hometown. And if they do go anywhere, they'll just go out for a weekend. And in my opinion, and a lot of people share this opinion, I'm not crazy, but in my opinion, if you don't go out and play outside of your city, then no one is going to take you seriously. Or, if you're trying to get signed, not like that is the be all end all anymore, but, if you're trying to get a booking agent or get signed or get management or whatever, in this day and age, if you're not already doing all of those things yourself, then no one else is going to do it for you. So we just, as one of the only bands around here at the time that was touring a lot, like we would, go out for 2 to 3 weeks at a time when we could. When a lot of other people in the scene weren't doing that and were kind of like acting like they did it. It was just kind of annoying, and we were just like, "Oh, fucking fake rockers, blah
They ain't
blah blah."
real. They ain't real.
Yeah,
Michael. Tell
so
me.
Fake
it
rock.
was
They ain't real.
and we're not trying to talk shit, but it was just kind of became like a joke amongst us. So like real rock, blah blah blah, fake rock, haha.
There's a lot of fake rockers, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake rockers
Isn't the
out
name
there.
of the unreleased Variants record supposed to be "Fuck Fake Rockers"?
All right, guys. Variance was a band. Michael was in the band, and we have a whole like 14 or 15
No,
songs sitting on a
It's
hard
too.
drive.
It's the record's too long. You wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
It's
you couldn't
fucking
make it
really
through
good.
it even
need
if you tried.
another podcast
sitting,
we need to talk about Variants.
sitting
Just
on
let
my
it go.
computer for years, and so wait on
It's
my
P.S.
soul.
All
fine.
three of us have listened to the record, and it's amazing, and you guys will never hear it.
One day when I have time. I've been saying this for 3 years.
One
Just
day
keep
Kyle's
saying
gonna
it.
master
One
them,
day I'm gonna
and they're
mix
gonna
it all
pop up.
and it's gonna be dope.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to log into the Variants Facebook and just change the profile picture. You know how that like freaks people out? And then it's going to show up on Bandcamp one day.
There you go.
One day when I can afford to pay Kyle for his time,
You paid me with friendship.
I paid you with this podcast
And blowjays.
and beers.
You have paid me with beers.
I have paid you with beers.
These
But primarily
these Tin
blowjobs.
Roofs, these Voodoo by
Shout out Tin
Roofs.
Roof.
Shout out Tin Roof. Shout out to all the local breweries.
Shout
Urban
out local-
South, what up?
Shout out local breweries.
Urban South is
Shout out Cullen Fraser.
legit. Shout out.
Urban South is killing it. I'm not gonna lie.
Urban South is amazing.
If you've made it this far on the podcast, you've noticed that we've had multiple beers.
Do you guys? Okay, so this is the question. Do you guys like the lime cucumber gose?
It is amazing. That is my favorite beer.
That's gonna be a hard no for me.
God, Michael.
sours in the summer.
Not down for the sour.
Urban South. Shout out Urban South.
All right, I'm
Makes
talking
the
to Nathan.
best lime cucumber goza to ever.
Is
I
it
like beer
how
that
do you
tastes
say
like
it? Is
beer.
It gose? Okay, everyone, make fun of me.
I think beer should taste like beer.
Well,
Maybe I'm just ignorant.
Mike's Uptown.
Yeah, I'm from.
We're Uptown
drink your
now.
PBR.
I live in Broadmoor. Maybe that's why.
Okay, so Nathan, question: have you had the cooped up that they're going to discontinue now that the goza is so popular? They're going to get rid of it.
What is it again?
It is very similar. It's called Cooped Up, and there's like a chicken on it. I mean, I don't know what makes me think about
This is
chickens
Urban
about
South?
it. It's Urban South. It's sour. It's like the lime cucumber goza. It's very similar, but it's more lemony. and they're going to discontinue it because the lime is so popular. It is not as good as the lime because the lime's
Yeah.
got that like saltiness that makes you want
Lime
to keep drinking.
cucumber is just.
It makes you want to keep drinking it. The
It does.
saltiness, but the excuse me, I belched. The cooped up is worth trying before it goes and leaves forever.
I'll have to try it out.
Flies the coop.
Urban South is blowing up. It's
Killing
amazing.
it. Microbrewery. Is if only the music scene was as popular as beer.
I feel like we're getting there.
Damn.
As soon as we all hit 30, we'll be there.
It's close, dude.
I know. It's crazy. Getting there. But fuck fake rockers, I guess.
Fuck
Yeah,
them,
fuck
dude.
fake rockers.
Fuck them. That's band guys. Band guys are
It was-
fucking fake
No,
rockers.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm not knocking people playing music with our friends. That's
Oh
great.
no, like
I'm just saying,
I
don't
don't tour, but like
Yeah.
I'm fucking
If
not a fake.
It was
kind
of cool though, because like after I had finished undergrad and I was transitioning jobs and I was able to get some time back to myself and I missed booking so much, and I saw what Variance was like just dissipating at that time, and if anyone had followed Variance at the time, you noticed how much the whole Real Rock Club Fuck Fake Rockers thing was
Oh
taking
yeah,
off.
that shit. I totally left that out. So yeah, it was a brand for Variants. I totally left that out.
Like all the merchandise and the record that wasn't released everything was branded as Real Rock Club, like the logo and everything.
Yeah, it was kind of like our band logo. I'm not a fan of band logos, but we had a logo that we like printed on clothing, and then it didn't say Variants. It just was Real Rock
Yeah.
Club.
But it was cool because like when all that went away and it really never made its way to the full public, the brand had stuck so well in the city that we just thought it would be best to book under that name. And there's like a psychological aspect of like people want to be part of a club.
absolutely.
Hence
yeah.
the hashtag join the club that we use on everything. It just ties so well into it. And I think it's a
Absolutely.
lot more inviting than Pavilion Entertainment.
And also, it just kind of fits with, we don't only book rock shows, but most of the shows we book
Or rock.
are rock. And, a loose
all
term.
kinds of rock. Would you
Yeah.
say?
We booked a hip hop show in September though, so it's kind
What
of
was it?
you'll find out when it's announced.
Okay. Cool.
Hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet.
No, but I mean, it's a big deal. So like math rock is kind of like booming right now. It's had like a big resurgence because of Chan, pretty much.
yeah.
But like you said, like you're kind of like downplaying it. The branding for a band is so important. Like, and shout out to Standards. They came through. You guys booked that show.
So good.
I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. They stayed with us. Marcos is cool. We had hung out at NAMM and stuff. So it was kind of, we hung out at NAMM, and then you guys had like hit us up about a show like right after we met him in LA,
Oh, cool.
which was pretty interesting. But their branding, like the branding for Standards that this dude figured out is just fruit.
Yeah.
It's just fruit, and it kills it,
Cartoony fruit.
dude. It works so well that
It's pretty genius. I mean,
it's fruit. It's fruit
it just
and sharks.
fits. I don't know why, but fruit just fits math rock. I don't know why.
It does.
I don't know why.
It's because of
but-
standards.
Yeah, maybe that's subconsciously why,
Standards.
but I don't know.
They're great. Everyone go check out Standards. But yeah, I mean, and if you're a band, find something to brand to. It's kind of gimmicky,
Yeah.
but it fucking works. Straight up.
The success of Real Rock Club is definitely credited to the people that continuously support us and come to our shows. But there's been a lot of work in the background on the brand itself. Whether it be something as small as creating a hashtag like join the club, or putting an emphasis on our socials and just making sure that like the naming is consistent across all of our socials, or like the same profile picture, or like we've run shirts before. Like it's more than just booking. And, we have plans for things in the future, but we would love to do things that really turn it into a brand and a culture, not just a group of guys who book shows in
So
Orleans.
this podcast will be posted with "Light the Flame" by Lantern Light, right? Hashtag. No,
Why
but
not, dude? Get a trending hashtag, you'll blow up.
spark the fire.
Damn, I totally kind of forgot that's how the whole thing came about. I don't really talk about it, I guess.
There's a lot of
That's-
irony behind it, but it's kind of cool to think back of like the the opportunities that were coming and then sort of like fell off, and then you capitalize on missed opportunities, like our local venue getting demolished to the ground, the branding of an album that is amazing and no one else will ever hear, using that to relaunch our company.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to look back at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Matt has been putting the Real Rock Club logo on some handout designs too. So it just kind of made his way. The logo's made his little way onto some handout shirts.
It looks like we're a label or something.
Yeah. We've always, or at least I've always had it in the back of my mind, but it's just,
Any plans?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just not a good time to be a record label.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a good time to be anything in the music field, but,
We'll just
maybe
have to
one
see
day.
what happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it all comes down to just cultivating our hometown. If we can get the buy-in from our hometown and people support us and recognize what we're doing, then we'll be able to grow on top of that.
It's all about building brand. I mean, you guys work with Republic, so you're aware of Free Water.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
for
a
sure.
brand. That's just a brand, and they're huge and they're brilliant.
Yeah. Those guys are great. We've got a chance to meet them before, and they primarily do clothes, but like they do parties and shows as well, and it's amazing. Like the Suicide Boys, before they played their show at Joy Theater last time they were here, did a pop-up at Free Water. Free Water's only been around for like 3 years.
Shout out to Marty. Yeah.
Shout out Free Water. Those guys have blown up, and it's incredible. And I think it shows the power of putting a focus and an emphasis on the brand and the image that you portray. When you get people bought into that, and you get people following you on a day of social media, and whatever you do, they'll buy into it.
Damn right. So, is there anything upcoming that you guys want to plug? Any shows, any events, anything that Real Rock Club is planning to do, maybe like that would be new that you guys haven't done yet?
Yeah. So for years past, the summer has been slow. I think it's a thing in New Orleans that like summer's just not busy for anyone. So we put an emphasis on trying to fill up the summer calendar and take advantage of people looking for stuff to do. So we've trying to broaden our horizons on what kind of music we book. So like OK Mayday, we don't really book a lot of pop rock, so that's something new. We have this artist called Party Nails coming through in July. She's a solo artist that's done a tour with Paris before, so if you like Paris, you'll love Party Nails.
Rhodes Rollins is another touring act that got announced on that tour, and they are awesome. They're like the soundtrack to a spaghetti western if it was indie rock.
I'm into it.
It's fucking sick.
So yeah, we have some cool little shows that are out of our comfort zone that are coming up, and I think that's really exciting for us because we book a lot of the same genre a lot of the time. So it's cool to build that up.
Let's not forget Aaron Carter.
Oh god,
Yeah, Aaron
yeah.
Carter's
We
crazy.
co-promoted for good old Aaron Carter one
Yeah.
time.
Funny story about Aaron Carter. So I mean, look, you go to an Aaron Carter show, you want to hear some throwback Aaron Carter.
Hell yeah.
Like,
That's why you're
Where's
there.
Aaron's party at?
It was
why
at the
you're there.
Willow. You missed it. So there was this. People were annihilated drunk at the Willow watching this dude, and this one fratty dude who took his shirt off and everything was just yelling, "Play Aaron's Party" the whole time, like for 4 straight songs. And Aaron Carter got so pissed off that he like cut his set and pointed at the dude. He was like, "Get this dude out of my show!" And security grabbed him and like drug him off. And as he's getting walked out the venue, he played Aaron's Party.
Pretty. That was a pretty real rock move, if I do
Yeah,
say
Aaron
so
Carter's
myself.
pretty fucking real rock, dude. Shout out Aaron Carter.
Shout out Aaron Carter.
I mean, if you're into like pop, like mainstream pop like that, his new stuff's actually pretty good. So
don't sleep on Aaron
not
Carter.
as good as I Want Candy, but
Yeah, good point. But I think spring and fall are usually like our go-to seasons for bigger shows. And if you follow Real Rock Club on any social media,
Where can people find you?
/ or at Real Rock Club on anything. So
another show that I would like to plug is on July 6th. We have Charlie Bliss also at Gasa, and they are one of my favorite bands. So I'm very excited.
Charlie Bliss is sick. Tickets are actually selling really, really fast. This is not one of those like fake low ticket warnings. but they are actually selling a lot of tickets. So if you
Matt-
want to go, you should do that.
Matt Surfing and Friends is playing. They are a great local community records band from right here in New Orleans. I would recommend checking them out and their new record because it's really good.
Come the falls when we start to pick up some of the bigger stuff. That's we love doing small shows. Don't get me wrong, but the bigger shows are, I think, the ones that really grab people's attentions organically and get a lot of traction for us, which is amazing. So we have Stick to Your Guns, Counterparts, and Terror, August 14th at Republic. We have Despised Icon coming back to New Orleans for the first time in like 10 years. Which
Are they
is amazing.
is that their like first tour back?
No, they've done a couple of shows, but
I don't think they've done any tours.
I don't think they've done tours, but it's them and Kubla Khan at Southport, October 5th. And then we mentioned Knocked Loose earlier, October 20th at Southport as well. So we have
I'm
some
sure there will be a lot more to come for October.
there's some stuff that's, I mean, I'll say one that's unannounced, but if you like math rock, like Kyle mentioned, there's a band called Monuments. They're coming here in October. So there's going to be some bigger stuff that comes in the fall. I think it's just easier for bands to route through the fall when it's not blazing hot outside in the summer.
Rocktober, dude.
Rocktober. But we've gotten a lot of comments that our shows in October are better than the Voodoo lineup this year, which is man, that's nice. So come to that.
No comment.
No comment. We'll leave that at that. Thanks,
Maybe a
guys.
day will get rained out and we'll book another one of those bands in Dom's house.
We can only hope. Well,
That'd be sick.
thanks for coming. Love you guys. We'll have to do another one.
Shout out, Kyle.
Hell yeah.
Everyone, go support Real Rock Club, support local music. We're out. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. To keep up with Lantern Light, you can find us on social media at Lantern Light Inc. You can also follow us on our website at www.lanternlightinc.com. Stay tuned for the next live record to hit about mid-August with a very special band, Mr. She. Make sure you go check those guys out. We'll also be recording Crush Diamond in July, as well as Wonder Kid in August. So we have a bunch of good bands coming up as far as live records go and sessions. Thanks for all your support. Until next time.